All right, guys. One thing I will say is that Mazda comes with some pretty complete instructions here. Not only do they have the instructions in several different languages, but they obviously come with the templates that you'll need to cut out. So I got my scissors and some tape that we'll need to cut these out in order to drill some holes. But they come with this like little guide that tells you like essentially the tools that you'll need, some things that you should recognize, the equipment that comes in the package. And then they actually give you like an illustration here if you don't want to read instructions on what to do, like the IKEA version of their instructions, which actually seem pretty easy to follow. But if you don't want to do that, you can go to the instruction manual that they have here, which is even more comprehensive, and then it gives you like step by step, like literally step-by-step instructions. So kudos to Mazda. This is amazing. You know, I worked for Honda for a number of years, and I will say that this is a lot more comprehensive than what you know, would be included with a Honda accessory or something like that. So great job, Mazda. Keep it up. This is great. I like this. Yeah, like I mean, pretty extensive instructions. Anyways, we're gonna have a read. It's pretty straightforward, to be honest with you. Yeah. Now, one thing to note, if you do have the RF versus the soft top, like I have the RF, there is a different under shield or deflectors that have to go underneath the vehicle. So the soft top, from what I understand, has one solid piece, which my RF already has. So I guess with the RF, you add these two side pieces that go in addition to the other part. Don't ask me why, but it is what it is. All right. All right, guys, we're getting there. Now, the one thing you're gonna have to do according to the manual is you're just gonna have to pop out these trim pieces here. They kind of like, you know, these are the factory stock trim pieces. But anyway, you got to move the wheel out of the way. I found it easier just to rotate the wheel. You got to drill out a rivet that holds it on the inside of the fender well, just back and behind here, right there. And then beneath it, there's like jack nut certs or big riv nuts, anyways, that hold it underneath. My mistake was I used too small of a drill bit initially, so I just like drilled right through the center of those, and it didn't pop the heads off. So word of the wise, use a 1/4 inch drill bit and you'll be fine. All right, well, let's do this way. All right, guys, the next thing they're gonna want you to do is with these remaining trim pieces, they're gonna want you to basically cut from 40 millimeter from the very leading edge here. So the top edge, yeah, let's see if I can try to hold this. So they want you to cut 40 millimeter from here down. So what I've done is I just went plumb square with this trim piece here. And as you can see, thankfully for the dirt, I was able to create a little etch in there where it's 40 millimeter from that point, essentially leaving you with this as a finished product. Now, I was panicking because I was like, well, I don't have anything here to cut it with, but need not to worry, because all I did was I basically propped it up against this cardboard and used my handy sharp like razor there, and it cut through pretty good. You just got to be patient. So my recommendation is just strike down the line with the razor, the box cutter, you know, a nice smooth you know, perpendicular line, and then just gradually work your way down. A little bit of patience, and it actually leaves you with a nice clean cut, far nicer than I would say if you were to use a grinder. So if you really wanted to clean it up a little bit, my recommendation is, because it's just plastic, you could just hit it up with a lighter. If you just take like a regular lighter, hit that up, and you can kind of smooth it out if you really want to. But I think that ended up pretty good, to be honest. Anyway, 40 millimeter. Anyways, that took much longer than I wanted to, than I intended anyway. That's because I Portuguesed the shit out of these. For those of you who know, you know. But I can, you know, because I cut these with my box cutter or my X-Acto knife, you know, I just wanted to make sure that they were profiled the exact same. And I mean, that's pretty damn close. I just had my grandfather's voice in the back of my head, God rest his soul, about making sure that these were perfect. So I, you know, kind of cut them, and then they weren't exactly perfect, and then I just sanded them down a little bit and made sure the profiles were the same on either end. Far more detail into that than you need to, but you know what? I've got nothing better to do today, and sometimes little stupid projects like that, I don't know why. You just got to make them perfect. Nobody's going to see it, but you know, that's just my OCD kicking in. Anyway, so what we're going to be doing next is we're going to be cutting out the templates that Mazda's provided. We're going to be taping it along here because we've got to drill a hole in here so that we can access it from the back side of the bumper. All right, guys, so I've already done my arts and crafts here. I've already removed one of the sides here, as you can see. Don't get too caught up in making sure it's directly on the line. I mean, close enough is good enough. A little bit of a hack, once you cut one out, if you really wanted to, do one side at a time. One side is just the reverse of the other. So if you didn't want to go through the trouble of cutting that out, you know, I could put that right up against the paper here and shine the light through it, and it's essentially the exact same as you can see. It's just the reverse. Honestly, it's all it is. So if you want to save yourself some time and not cut out the other one, you can do it. However, my OCD is telling me I should cut it out, so I'll cut it out. All right, guys, there we have it. I want to say kudos to the engineers who designed this. The fitment of this is perfect. You'll see yourself when you cut out this template. It's pretty straightforward. It lines up perfectly with all the contours. Even the little hole in the bottom lines up perfectly. So I feel very confident that this is where we're going to drill. Now, what I had done is I actually just put some masking tape in and behind with the area where we're going to drill, just so that when, you know, we go through with the bit, we can minimize the amount of damage that's done to the actual physical paint at all itself. Not that it's going to be seen, because it's obviously going to be covered, but hey, you know what? Why not go through the extra step? All right, guys, so we're moving along. The one thing I really like about this kit is that Mazda's included all the hardware right down to the rivets, which is amazing. I picked up this rivet gun off of Amazon, and man, am I pretty pumped about this. It's the little things, right? These things, you know, tools for whatever reason are, you know, just pretty cool. But anyways, nice cast head, you know, really solid built, but it articulates, which is awesome, because more often than not, sometimes you're working in some tight spots, and when you're using like a fixed style rivet gun, it gets really difficult to get in the tight spots. This one's handy because like you can articulate the head and, you know, go upwards or on an angle, and it still works. So for something like this, as you can see, that's pretty trick, you know. Anyways, thought that was cool. So what we got to do is we got to fire a rivet into where trim was, and we got to just put the old trim back. So left side, right side, there we are. So we're gonna fire this essentially back into its home. I guess they're using this for support. That's gonna be my assumption. It just kind of hangs down there. And again, we're gonna install the rivet exactly where it was installed before. So let's see if I can get in there. All right, making sure that that's flush. That's in its home. There we go. And like that, it's installed. Ah, that was simple. Nice and easy. So we'll do the exact same the other side. And then of course the trim nuts will hold it in place. But yeah, there we go. Now finally, guys, another tip is to install these jack nut fasteners. They require what's called a jack nut tool or fastener tool, clamp tool. So this is what I found on Amazon. Now, if you go and search for a jack nut tool, you're gonna come up with very limited selection. However, if you put in like drywall anchor tool, you're gonna come up with a lot more options because it's essentially the same thing. And so I ordered this kit on Amazon. It was 25 bucks for the tool and then some fasteners. Not that I'm installing any anchors into drywall. However, it does come with an assortment. But the cool part is you're gonna need an extended 6 mil length bolt here, because you're gonna wanna insert that into your jack nut that Mazda's provided. And this way, you have something to use to clamp it down, because the ones that come in the kit, unfortunately, are just not long enough. So this should work out perfectly. You just fire them in like so. And then basically what you want to do, just get it about as close as you can. And you're going to insert it into the jack nut tool like so. And then obviously when you clamp it, it's going to pull on the nut, compressing the nut. Perfect. That worked out really well. All right, guys, there we go. The front lip is installed completely. Sorry I didn't get much of it filmed. I was kind of trying to get it going here, but basically you got to remove the two-sided tape from behind here. You kind of want to place it approximately where it belongs. Make sure you line up the bolt holes on the side here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to just kind of come beneath the bumper, and then you're going to want to start putting in some of these self-tapper, not self-tappers, but the bolts rather, into their homes right there. Loosely thread them in, get it all fitted up, then snug them up, and then when you snug them up, tighten them, and then pull the tape, and then press firmly against the lip, you know, press firmly against it so it makes nice adhesion to the bumper. And then last but not least, because I have an RF model, for those of you with a soft top model, you actually have to install this piece here, because it does not come with the soft top, but it does come already pre-installed with the RF. And then when you, with the RF, you got to add these side pieces. So as you can see there, you just have to drill into this fiber cardboard thing, and then put in the jack nut, and then a rivet. And that's that. So kind of sits there as such. I'm not sure exactly what the purpose is. Maybe as an additional wind deflector or something, but anyways, there you have it in a nutshell. All right, guys, we're moving on to the rear splash shield, or not the rear splash shield, but the rear valance. Now, I've seen other videos with this before, but none of them have covered this specifically. So I don't know if this is RF specific, but according to the instructions, they want me to remove some of the trim clips from the inner splash shield to apply these little rubber adhesive insulators. I'm not really sure why, but according to the instructions here, they basically say to install those little adhesive thingamadoobers in here. This is one of those scenarios where I don't know if I'm actually causing any more harm than good, because when you attempt to take the rear bumper, those bumper clips are like always a bit iffy. So I'm a little apprehensive to do that specific procedure. Well, anyway, we'll attempt it and see what happens. I didn't really want to have to take off the rear wheels, but I think I might have to get access to this. All right, let's see how this goes, and I'll check back in with you later. All right, guys, I'm not gonna lie, that was a fucking pain in the ass. Removing the bumper clips and everything wasn't so difficult. You'll see it in the, I did like a time lapse here. But what is the trickiest part is once you get the bumper removed, that's not really that difficult. A couple clips, some self-tappers, everything comes out. Bumper actually came, unclipped relatively easily, clipped back in real nice. But there's this little tab, and I guess the reason they do this is because I'm assuming this is like something that they forgot at the factory. Anyways, there's a little in here, a little bracket. There's this very thin, like almost like paper thin plastic tab that's butted up against the metal. And my guess is with whatever additional weight this rear valance adds, they're concerned about it maybe putting more load on the bumper or aerodynamic load or whatever. So what they want you to do is they want you to put that little insulator piece of sticker tape between that thin piece of plastic and the body metal. presumably to prevent it from wearing through the paint. Anyways, that was a pain, and now I get to do it on the other side. The good news is that looking at the instructions, it's pretty smooth sailing after that. So here's hoping. We are getting there. So the templates that actually come in this kit are pretty freaking awesome. So anyways, I've got both the templates taped up. And then what I've done is you could either take a punch or you could take an X-Acto knife and just kind of like pierce the center of that. And you're gonna wanna start with a really small bit just to kind of pilot it, and then work your way up. Now, this one is gonna be 8 mil. If you don't have an 8 mil, you can use a 5/16. 5/16 is pretty close to 8 mil. So that should do the job. So that's your 5/16 there. So yeah, anyways, so we're gonna get drilling. Yeah, we're getting there. Woo-woo. All right, guys, next step in the instructions is you're gonna wanna cut the rear bumper. See how it kind of just pokes out? So according to the instructions, they basically want you to cut this so that this sits flush with the splash shield, all right? I don't know, like, I know you want good fitment, but anyways, cracking out the good old X-Acto knife again. All right, guys, we are installed. Now, I will recommend removing your license plate when you're doing it, because when you go to put the valance on, you're gonna wanna pull back on the adhesive strips, like just the little protective tape. You're gonna wanna pull it out, and the license plate just gets in the way. So I'd recommend removing it so that you can get in there. And then you're gonna wanna thread these you're gonna remove these, the factory ones. And then the kit comes with new ones. You're gonna remove those ones from the kit or the factory, and you're gonna put these new ones in, lightly thread them in. Same with the washered ones over there and there. And then once you get it like in place, you're gonna start peeling back the tape and applying pressure against the bumper. Do not tighten the fasteners until you've done all of that, okay? Once you've done all of that, then you can come and tighten up your fasteners. I recommend starting with these guys down here in the middle, tighten those guys up, tighten these guys up at the ends, and then just push and apply pressure to it so that the adhesive, really sticks to the bumper. Don't forget, there are gonna be little nuts on the back side of this because you've drilled holes into the bumper. You're gonna wanna tighten those little 8 mil nuts as well. And once that's all fixed into place, before you tighten down the bolts, what I recommend doing is I took my little handy dandy cloth here, and then I just applied pressure, just as, just like with my arm, pivoting off of my knee and just applying pressure upwards and inwards, just so that the tape can, you're gonna want the bumper to flex, but, like I said, I've got this cloth here, so I'm not scratching it, but upwards and inwards, just apply that nice pressure, nice and uniform pressure all the way around. And like I said, upwards and inwards, guys, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way that's positioned. You can also reach in from behind the bumper and just kind of grab the bumper, the lip of the bumper, and push it, clamp it up against this valance as well. Okay, anyways, that's that. We are all done, at least the rear piece, and I have to say it's looking pretty good. Pretty happy with that. All right, on to the side skirts. All right, guys, the next thing you're gonna wanna do is we are going to be installing the side skirts. Now I've already gone ahead and looked over the instructions here, and I've already cut out our templates. Quite a few more templates in this installation. However, really well laid out in the instructions here. Shouldn't be very difficult, so you're definitely gonna wanna have your templates all cut out and ready to go. Get some tape out, ready to go. And yeah, shouldn't be too difficult. It's a pretty straightforward process here. I'm going to be drilling out a series of holes and then installing the jack nuts as supplied. And then I think one pop clip. That's pretty much it. So again, you're going to want to prep the surface before installation, just like we did with the rear. And yeah, it should be straightforward and pretty easy to go. So we're going to get started with setting up these templates underneath here, taping them up, drilling our holes, and there's one other hole that we do have to drill in here, so we're going to have to obviously be very careful with that, but otherwise should be pretty straightforward. So I'll check back with you once we've got everything done. Alright guys, so we're just about ready to install our side skirt. So I've gone ahead and I've already cleaned the area with some glass cleaner, some aerosol glass cleaner. And then I'm going to move on to these handy little alcohol wipes. So, but before we go ahead and do any of that, what I like to do is I like to just take the part itself and just line it up. And just make sure that all of our holes and everything is drilled all the right places. Because once you pull the adhesive tape, this is on. So that's all looking good here. Our holes in the sides are lining up perfectly there. Looking pretty good there. So we just want to go ahead and make sure that our fitment is on point before we go ahead and remove the adhesive tape. And then it also gives you kind of an idea as to where the adhesive tape lives on the body, so you know especially where to clean. Because sometimes it gets a little predictable, or it's a little hard to predict rather. Okay. We're just going to pull out our alcohol pads here. We're just going to look at the tape line there, so we know that the tape line is essentially right below this guy right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that and just, and what you want to do is, if you clean the area really well, the hope is that, especially if you're using something like this, where it's a white little pad, you can see that it's picking up a little bit of dirt there. So we just want to, this is why I usually use 2 or 3 of these. You just want to make sure. We want to allow for enough time for this to all evaporate before we go and apply. Alright, there we go. As you can see, much cleaner. Just kind of hit it up. Just clean. Alright, so what you're going to want to do is set this up against the body, get the clips clipped in, put in the little push clip from the front, supply in the kit, and then you're going to put in the nuts from the bottom. Let's just go ahead and do that. And then we'll take your all evaporated here. All looking good there. Now, there's they do leave a little room for error. I would say there's about a 3 millimeter gap back here and approximately a 3 millimeter gap up front. Assuming that, they've done that intentionally, just in case there's a little variation between where you drill these holes here from the template. But I'm satisfied at the fact that we've got an even amount of spacing back here and up there. So this is looking pretty good so far. We're going to pull this. And they tell you to start from the front and work your way back with this. So what I like to do, just as I did with the rear, is I like to take this cloth and just push it up. All right. pretty good there. Oh yeah. Let's move on with this. Moving on to the bottom. Just gonna grab our hardware here. Thread it in by hand. We should be all set. All right, guys, and like that, there we have it. We are all set. That is looking pretty good, if I do say so myself. It adds quite a bit of depth, you know what I mean? It's just much nicer than the factory one. So we have yet to do this side, but you know, not crazy, not pronounced. Head on over to this side and yeah, you can just see it's quite a bit of a difference. Anyways, well, I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I took my time doing this because obviously it's my first time, and you know, the old adage is measure twice, cut once. So I really wanted to make sure that everything was lined up. I did have a little bit of a mishap with the front bumper. I accidentally installed the jack nut in the wrong holes for the splash shield instead of the forwardmost holes. So, word of caution, thankfully I was able to order new jack nuts off of Amazon and get that done properly. So, not an overly big deal, crisis averted. I mean, it wasn't like there was an irreversible damage there. I just had to drill out a jack nut and that was it. So anyways, got some new ones coming in from Amazon, so I'll be able to finish up that front lip. But everything is looking pretty good. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.